Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live session. Is AI killing the traditional observability and what comes next? So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're really excited about this one. My name is Dean Pogrosky, and I'll be moderating today's session. So you've probably noticed that every observability vendor on the planet is suddenly AI-powered. But here's the thing. Most conversations out there are very surface level. They're over-polished or just, flat out marketing plays. This session is going to be quite different. We've brought together experts who are building, using, and scaling AI in the real-world observability stacks. We'll be talking honestly about what's working, what's not, what comes next, both from a technical and strategic perspective. We've got people who are pro and against certain aspects of observability and AI. In terms of the agenda, we'll be taking live questions throughout, so feel free to drop your comments in the chat as we go. What we'll do is we'll start with introducing our panel, then we'll get into the main discussion. We'll ask the panel some questions, and we'll have around 10 to 15 minutes at the end for audience Q&A. Before we dive in, let's meet our panels. Guys, I'll ask you each of yourself to introduce yourself quickly, who you are, what you do, and how you're currently involved in the world of observability and AI. Asaf, let's start with you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Asaf, and I'm a co-founder and CTO of Blocks.io. We're really excited about what we're doing as a company in the areas of Gen AI and observability. I do think that we're kind of like on a place where there's going to be a tectonic shift in how observability is going to work and how it's going to look like and the benefit that it can provide the end user. So excited to be here.
Thank you, Asaf. Andrew, you're next.
Dean, we couldn't hear you for a brief moment.
Okay.
Can you repeat?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Andrew, can you introduce yourself, or Shevach while you're on stage?
Yes. So hi, my name is Shevach. I am leading the AI here at Logs.io. I have about 10 years of backend experience, and since last year, started diving deep into this AI. I think it has amazing potential. It's disrupting a lot of industries, and I think especially this year is special for the disruption of observability. And I'm very happy to discuss about it today.
Awesome. Thank you, Shevach. Manoj, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Okay, guys. So yeah, I'm Manoj. I'm into this industry from last 21 years. I started my career with some of those legacy systems, mainframes, and those RDBMS designs, ETLs, warehouses, query optimization, all those kind of a thing. Just last 10 years when we jumped on to cloud platform, got an opportunity to work on a cloud native application development, DevOps automation, SRE, and recently I started, from last 2-3 years into the observability world, especially when the old legacy system started migrating into the cloud era, the microservice architecture and all. Observability is completely changed. The way we were doing in the past and the way we were supposed to do it now. So that's where the whole observability concept or observability adoption started coming to my team in last 2 to 3 years. So we'll be happy to discuss my challenges and the benefits of observability and what I see where it's going in next few years.
Awesome.
Happy to be here.
And definitely enjoyed some of the content that you've been putting out on LinkedIn. Andrew, last but not least, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Andrew Malaband. I have been working in this industry for 4 decades now. I've helped build 4 companies from the ground up with exits to Datatech, EMC, Microsoft, and IBM. For about 16 years of that time, I actually have been working in the field of AI and what we now call observability. I spent 8 years, so 5 at a company called Smarts and 3 at EMC after the Smarts acquisition, and we were applying AI algorithms to do root cause analysis in networks. And I work with some of the largest companies in the world to actually deliver solutions in the managed network services, telecom spaces, and also with large enterprises. And I did another 8 years with a company called Turbonomic, who were applying AI algorithms to basically make resource allocation decisions in virtualized and cloud environments. And probably a lot of you know about the success of Turbonomic as a business. Now, more recently, I have my own business, a company called Breakthrough Moments. And the role that I'm playing is actually helping and advising companies in the tech space on how to build their businesses. And I've actually been doing quite a lot of work in the observability space over the last couple of years and working with companies in this space. And during that time, I've gained a lot of exposure to end customers and understood a lot of the challenges that are involved in implementing AI into today's cloud native environments. And I've also written extensively about it in a series of articles that are titled Observability 2025 very recently. So if you I'd recommend digging into those if you get the opportunity. So,
Awesome.
I'd like, obviously, I guess this is an opportunity to share some of those recent experiences with you as well.
For sure. And definitely been reading and intrigued by your articles. Some really good thought leadership there. So excited to hear what you've got to say today. All right, let's get straight into it. Thanks everyone for the introductions. So as you know, we've titled the panel, Is AI Killing Traditional Observability? It's not just a catchy headline. It's actually a question that a lot of teams are wrestling with right now. Between rising data volumes, alert fatigue, and pressure to do more with less, AI seems like, I guess, the obvious solution, but we're all interested. Does it actually solve the problem, or is it adding another layer of complexity? So first question I've got for Shevach. What recent advancements in AI do you believe will have the biggest impact on observability practices?
So yeah, myself as a developer, I have been using ChatGPT all the time as a developer, and it really helps me. But I think that recently in 2025, thought leaders are talking about this year as the year of agents. I think that agents are systems that can interact with the environment, take action, and have a stateful state. And I think this is a key breakthrough in this technology for leveraging observability. And what do I mean by that? I think that now when agents leverage stronger and stronger models, they can interact better with our existing tools if we expose them with APIs. And essentially, when I think about it, the LLMs, as they come stronger and stronger, they are just like in software engineers, right? So if they will have the ability to read through the logs, to query the metrics, to follow up the traces, etc., they can really help us progress observability, like investigate. And it's all across the board, from simple questions on how many failed logins did I have in the last 24 hours. This is a simple question. It's nice. It's aggregative. But there are far harder questions like, what is the root cause of this exception? And for engineers, it sometimes takes hours and sometimes days to go and to truly understand a root cause, because we work at human speeds. Now imagine that at machine speed. So this is what is super exciting for me, and I think we will see it this year as models are getting far better and using this amazing connectivity to our systems.
Awesome, Sheva. Thank you. Minaj, I'm curious, in your enterprise experience, what pain points would you say that traditional observability would lead you to adopt, or on the other hand, not adopt AI solutions?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little tricky situation, actually. I mean, you heard a lot about AI, and it's very, very difficult to keep one away from AI in whatever domain you work. AI is not kind of a plug and play, like you bring in some tools, you just plugged into your system and it started working automatically, right? So there's a lot of foundation work, a lot of prerequisites which need to be fulfilled so that you can actually get the benefit of it. With this in mind, think of the applications which are decades old, right? 2-3 decades old. They are not built for cloud. They are not built for keeping AI in mind, right? So the way we were monitoring in the past, only two things. You have a huge set of logs, and max to max you have those resource usage matrices. I mean, how much CPU or how much memory is being consumed, nothing else. Along with this, what you had is only the experience of those people who actually built that system. They know in and out of the code. They know where the problem can be. They can easily guess it from the logs. They can understand the logs well. But it's a decades old story, right? Now those people are getting retired. Are they passing on that experience, knowledge of building those thousand millions of lines of code? No. So for new one who is coming up, he need to understand how my application works. And to understand that application, you need more visibility into how the application is working. Just the logs and matrices, right? But does my application ready for that? I mean, we say distributed tracing will help you out. If AI has access to distributed tracing, logs and matrices, it can help you out. But does my application generate those stuff which AI needs? It's difficult to say. My application doesn't give you anything other than very unstructured logs, just a few pages of some random stuff in there, right? So I have to understand that. It does not have instrumentation where you can actually get at the traces, the details of that. And it's very difficult to bring in the instrumentation also because these are all monoliths. And you never know what all method, what all APIs are in there, right? So, of course, AI solved that problem of understanding the application internals, how it's working through instrumentation and all. But my application is not ready to do it. I want to adopt, but I have a lot of challenges to make my application in a way that it started giving me that data which AI can consume and give me the output. So that's why I said it's a very tricky situation. I want to adopt, but I don't have those toolings. I don't have those experience or those skills which can actually do those kind of changes to my log structure, to my code instrumentation, or maybe refactor that application, or tell me where how to actually get those internal. I know auto instrumentation is there, right? But still auto instrumentation works on newer libraries. It doesn't work on if I go to, let's say, Java 8. If I'm using the older version of libraries, some of these enterprise application actually using those old libraries. The visibility is just not there. So for AI to actually start coming and give me that kind of a things. So I have both things. I'll say I want to adopt, but I have a lot of challenges to first overcome before I actually make myself ready for AI adoption.
Makes complete sense. And I think one of the surrounding themes we've been hearing a lot, I guess, from Andrew and John Hayes as well, is data. The AI only performs as well as the data that you feed it. So this is definitely a common theme that we're hearing. And I hope one day we do get there. Thanks, Manoj. Andrew, from a strategy perspective, you work with a lot of companies and leaders in the space. How should teams approach integrating AI into their observability workflows? Should it be a gradual augmentation of tools with AI suggestions, or should it be a transformative overhaul moving towards autonomous monitoring?
Okay, so I think you really got to kind of think about what your end game is, and that's really the kind of starting point. And you then need to figure out a path of how to get there. So, I mean, in my mind, the end game here is that you can actually look at the world from the point of view of business transactions. What is that? They're customer journeys that might traverse multiple services. They could be user journeys, could be bots and APIs interacting third party with your systems. It could be complex data pipelines. But effectively, when something happens to those business transactions, I want to be able to determine what the cause is. And I also want to be able to understand what else is impacted by that. So from a service management perspective, I can organize and triage my teams a lot more effectively. Now, I think to get there, I mean, Manoj has already identified a big problem that people have is that they don't actually have their data organized to be able to...
Anyone else lose Andrew?
Yeah, I was just slacking you, but
Can you hear me?
even when you talk, it's like coming in and out all the time.
Okay. Well, Asaf, while Andrew gets his connection back on track.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just cut out a little bit, Andrew.
Did I? Okay. So I'm not sure where you lost me, but the point I was making is when you have a failure of a service, a business transaction. Can you hear me? Yeah. Then you want to be able to understand what the root cause of that is, and that's obviously complex. It's dependent on having high fidelity data as well to be able to do it effectively, because that business transaction could traverse a number of different services. There could be databases involved. You might have message queues. I mean, in my experience, when I've gone and talked to people about these AI tools and what they can do for them, and you go and start to look at what they have in their environment, there is very often a massive gap between their data. So, working on the data, I think, is a very, very important thing. Now, obviously, that can be a big undertaking for people. I think that there are some tactical things that you can do with AI today, though, to be able to look at your existing data, to use machine learning and anomaly detection to identify patterns. But I think if we want to get to that panacea, then there's a lot of work that we've got to do on the data.
Thank you, Andrew. Asaf, so as I know, and as you know, Logs.io has introduced some really cool AI features over the past few months, like the AI agent for analysis and automatic root cause analysis. So I'm curious, how have the AI tools changed the way our customers and users troubleshoot and manage observability data? Can you share maybe some real world outcomes, teams that were able to improve MTTR or save some costs that you've observed?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to touch on the point of the data. I think one of the big benefits of AI and kind of like following up on what Shevach mentioned with the agent, it can find the right answer even if the data is not going to be perfect. Even if like server name is called server in one place and server ID in other place, it has a tendency of trying to find this information, and it's easier to do it with this. I can say that our customers, I mean, they see like great benefits, especially when it comes to troubleshooting. The whole purpose of observability is when there is a problem in the system, how quickly can I troubleshoot? We've been developing observability solutions for more than 10 years now, and we've seen the mean time to resolution only goes up and up. The complexity introduced into the environment is not matched with the level of sophistication of the observability solution, and having more and more dashboards is not going to help, is not going to move the needle on trying to troubleshoot. Having someone to troubleshoot with you or by you or for you, like the AI agent, is going to do that. And we see a significant reduction in MTTR. It does take time to build the trust with the agent, to help the agent to understand your specific environment, but we do see a significant reduction in MTTR.
Cool. Back to you, Sheva. So, as we all know, observability data can be extremely noisy and volume heavy. As Asaf said, more and more dashboards, more and more alerts. It creates a lot of noise. How does AI systems? How do AI systems distinguish signal from noise? Do they risk creating false
Yes.
positives or critical anomalies?
So you got cut out there, but yeah, I understand. So when I think about our agent, I think about it just as a senior software engineer. As well as it can write great code, it can perform great observability. It all depends on the context. So for example, we have customers or people or companies have terabytes of data of observability, right? And when an engineer is trying to investigate something, it's not like that engineer reads millions of logs, right? That engineer tries to filter out the noise, and they might use different tools for that. It's not like the AI agent is a magical solution that can solve everything. No, we need to add some existing tools that we have been working on developing. Let me give you a concrete example. If I'm searching for errors, sometimes there are logs that are just noise, maybe even like 20. I'm doing a query on OpenSearch, and I'm getting back a result with 20 million logs or 1 million logs. Sometimes 20% of those are just noise. It's just an info log that we need to filter out. If we will feed everything to the AI, we will saturate the context and it will lose. And the same thing happens with an software engineer, right? That person can't read all those logs. They need a tool to filter out the noise. So the same way we do with AI agents, and I think that AI agents should use. So if they have tools which are not LLM based, they can be AI based and they can be just plain vanilla nice algorithms. I will give you a nice feature maybe to make it concrete and drive the point home. If you have something like pattern mining, where you can generalize or create canonical views, canonical structures of logs, then instead of feeding the AI with 20 million logs, you just say, look, there is a canonical log here. This is a GUID and a transaction ID. There are just, placeholders. Is this log relevant to your investigation? If not, we can remove it. And this is exactly what I do when I try to resolve and perform root cause analysis. So this is the way. The way to distinguish signal and noise is the same for humans and AI. AI is as good as the context you give it. And the way is to use existing tools, whether they are AI or not AI, algorithmic tools, to filter the noise and then give it to the AI.
Thanks, Sheva. I totally agree. Andrew, I guess we see where AI and observability is now. Everyone knows that AI driven predictions definitely has its limits, and we can't foresee every unknown. So how do we set realistic expectations for AI in preventing incidents, given the long tail of rare failures we see in systems?
So I think, if we have a system that can do root cause analysis, it can tell us on an ongoing basis where we have issues, and that knowledge can then be used for post-incident analysis as well, right? Where we can then identify reoccurring patterns. So, we may, in these cloud-native worlds, applications are very dynamic. The demand is very dynamic. So I may see intermittent reoccurring problems. They're not visible all the time, but I can spot those types of patterns. If I'm identifying root causes, they may be here now, on Wednesday morning, but they go away in the afternoon, so I don't see them. But there could be a pattern emerging there. So I think post-incident analysis using these tools can be very powerful. I think we've already identified there's a lot. We've got a long way in many customers to make that work. Now, I mean, the ultimate panacea is to have a system which can be preventative in nature, and I don't think that we are there today, because in order to do that at a system level, you've really got to be able to understand, if something is changing, if a variable is changing, and you can spot a trend over time, how is that going to affect other services, other entities in this end-to-end system? You really need causal analysis to be able to get there. I think people are applying that today to do root cause analysis, but we're not there from a predictive perspective. People are just talking about it, but maybe we'll see that coming in the future.
For sure. I'm going to kind of skip forward to Asaf for a second. So Asaf, at your talk you had at a recent meetup, you mentioned the vision of autonomous observability, comparing it to how autonomous vehicles, where systems self-heal with minimal human input. So how far are we from that reality, and what technical or cultural hurdles would we basically need to overcome to actually get there?
Yeah. So before I do that, I want to kind of say something about what you asked in the previous question about the rare issues in IT. And I want to argue that the challenges that most organizations face are not rare. And most organizations face challenges that occur from two different situations. One of them is someone made a change. Someone changed the code, someone changed the configuration. A change in the environment is usually, like when it is an issue, it's usually because of a change. The second one is that the problem already exists in the system and nobody paid attention to it. So because it wasn't manifesting itself to the level of being critical. So if you address these two things, you're probably addressing 90%, if not more, of the challenges that organizations have. And they're not actually rare. They're actually pretty common, of things that change stuff and break stuff, and issues that are lingering on with the environment. I think we like to use the same analogy as the autonomous cars. About 10 years ago, we've been promised we're going to have autonomous cars, and still today we don't have it, autonomous cars, but we're starting to have it. The biggest challenge of autonomous cars is not the technology. The biggest challenge of autonomous cars is the manual cars, is the self-driving cars, it's the people in the streets. If the streets were empty of people and self-driving cars, we would have had autonomous cars long time ago. Development environment, it's not the case. Most environments today are already autonomous. They're not autonomous, but they're not manual. Nobody is logging into a server in AWS and saying, hey, I'm going to install a software there. It doesn't happen. People have processes. Everything is automated already. Everything that's been done in this environment is scripted. Yes, people make changes, but everything goes through testing. We're already in a place where most organizations have CI/CD and continuous integration and continuous deployment, and this is like thing that happened in the past 3 years. So I think we're much closer to having autonomous observability than we are to having autonomous cars with this. Some of the things that are kind of like need to happen in order for us to have autonomous observability. We have the ability today, and we demonstrated clearly with Logs.io, the ability to run root cause analysis. I think the models are going to get way better over the course of the next, I would say, 12 to 18 months. It's a very short time frame where the models are going to be amazing, which they already are amazing, but they're going to address a very high percentage of the problems. And after that, we would need to go into being active about it. So you see a problem, it's manifesting in production. You talk to the agent that is already looking at your code. You can figure out what happened. You can fix the code. You can issue a pull request. You can change the configuration. You can write the unit test, and everything happens. I saw an article, I don't remember where, that if you give ChatGPT an issue in GitHub, it has a very high likelihood of like 30 or 40% of actually fixing that issue. So you just give it an issue in GitHub and it goes and fixes the issue. because it knows the code and it knows what's going on. It has access to everything. We're already at the point where this is happening. And I think, imagine a world that like a developer pushes code into production. There's an agent that wakes up, scans the environment, figure out what changed, what is the deployment, connects to your code repository, whether it's GitHub or whatever, look at the changes, understand the impact on availability, on performance, on security, on cost, and all of these things. And if there is a big impact, it alerts you. You don't have to write alerts anymore. It just alert you, hey, you just deployed something that's going to cost you 10 cents more per client that you're running in the environment. Thought you should know about it, like, because nobody's like measuring this stuff when they develop. Or you just introduce a security problem, or you just introduce an availability issue in certain cases. You would go fix the problem, commit the code, issue a pull request, write the tests, so you wouldn't have to write unit tests anymore, or integration tests, or whatever your organization writes. And then the developer will get a notification, yeah, this is alert happened, because not because something happened in the environment, but because you pushed code to the environment that is a potential of creating an issue, and I fixed it. And then it would look at the fix, commit the fix, and everything is going to be kind of like back to normal and environment today. So I think we're going to see environments that are much, much cleaner, which addresses what I mentioned in the beginning. So we're going to see less lingering issue that's happening. We're going to see an immediate check of every deployment and every change you make to the environment, which is going to address the first issue of environment break-in and issues in production environments. And I think we're very close to this. When I say we're very close, we're a couple of years away, my guess. And I would be surprised if it's going to take more than a few years to get to the point where we have autonomous observability.
It's very cool. And I think it's a super exciting thing to watch. It's cool for us at Logs.io because we're kind of at the forefront of it. And yeah, once we get there, it'll be interesting to see how people work with their systems. So I guess going back to you, Manoj, in your experience, we know you're not quite ready to, do a full overhaul and implement AI in your systems, but in your general experience, how would you measure the success or ROI of using AI in observability? For example, would you expect to see a noticeable drop in mean time to resolution, fewer outages, cost savings? Like what quantifiable benefits would you say would justify this kind of investment?
You're on mute.
Yep, sorry. MTTR is one of that. I mean, it's a direct impact, right, which anybody want to measure when you have an AI on it. But to my way, it's more of different scopes. I may be divided into maybe 3 or 4 scopes. One of them, which Andrew was talking about and Asaf was talking about just before, right? How happy my end user customer is. I mean, there are a lot of intermittent issues which Asaf talked about, Andrew talked about, which just goes unnoticed from operations team, but those doesn't go unnoticed from end users. End users still see there is a delay in loading of a page. There may be 5.2 which just went off when you refresh the page. You just went onto a payment page and payment failed. You just never order it again. It might have worked if you have tried it again, but you didn't try it. But that happened just for a few seconds or maybe a few minutes, doesn't get noticed by operations team, right? So if I am coming with AI, right, so I will be more of a how proactively it can actually detect these intermittent issues and resolve it to happen it again. It should not happen again. So one of those, maybe those CSAT surveys, those customer satisfaction surveys, how they are perceiving my site now compared to last month or maybe a couple of months back. Is those intermittent issues going? Are they experiencing this kind of stuff or not? Maybe that is one of the things which I surely want to measure if I am going with an AI. The second thing which I will just go with, how happy my team is. I know my team is being bombarded with alerts, thousands of alerts coming every day. 80% of them may be just noise. They just does not require any action. But that need to be considered, right? And maybe only very few which is actually actionable. So can AI reduce that? Month on month, my noise is getting reduced. Last month it was like 100 noise, 100 alerts. Today maybe it's 80. Next month it may be 60. Next month it might be 40. So is my team's fatigue is getting reduced or not? I mean, are they happy or not with the kind of progress or the kind of noise reduction AI is giving them? Another thing, even those alerts which are actionable, if AI can detect what action to be taken, I mean, without any human intervention, there may be 20, 30, 40 action which is probable actions available. Can it say or pinpoint to only those 1 or 2 actions which will sort my problem out? Again, it makes my team happy. They don't have to assess 20 different solutions available. They know that these 2 are the probables. Let me review and let me execute it. So my team is happy. that may be another ROI I will surely look. And third, how happy I am is, right? So is any escalations coming to me? Is there any SLA breach? Is there any alert which is not getting resolved on time, which is again relate to MTTR? But biggest win for me will be the one where I go to my management and say that within the same team, I can actually go ahead and now support 40 more customers because AI is with me. It's actually resolving a lot of things, which gives me free times to my team, so I can support 20 or 30 more customers with the same bandwidth. So is that kind of ROI I'm getting with AI observability? Yes, that I will look for. And the most important, can I make my CEO happy? Can I say I'm reducing my operational cost 10% month by month because I am adopting AI? So if you are giving me an X dollar today to adopt an AI, maybe further down the line after 6 months, I will give you those X dollar back because my operational cost has reduced. So can I get that kind of an ROI where which is a return maybe after 6 months or a year? I start getting those return, getting that cost back. That will make my maybe the financer or my sponsor happy there, right? So these are a few of the points I will surely look to: how happy my customer is, how happy my team is, how happy I am, and how happy my CEO is. Can I measure those things? Some of them, yes. Some of them, maybe I need to define some of those quantifiable parameters which I can do and then maybe showcase. But yeah, these four, of course, MTTR is one, less outage, cost saving I already talked about. Those are actually anyway the normal or the obvious ones which I look for.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think one thing that I was happy to hear was how happy your team is. It's definitely not a commonly spoken about metric or measurement that engineering leaders are talking about, explicitly to vendors and what their goals are. So completely agree with your thoughts there, Manoj. Over to Shevach, I guess more on the AI development side. Gen AI, LLMs like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, they're being used to interact with observability data. For example, chatbots to explain log anomalies, suggest fixes, bottlenecks within systems. What are the opportunities, and also on the other side, what are the risks of using Gen AI in this context?
Yeah, so actually, I want to double click on what Asaf and Manaj just said. So I see endless opportunities in this, from basic stuff to the most complex things. So from the basic stuff, as Asaf said, usually stuff break after a configuration change, after a deployment. And imagine, even today, we have APM metrics. And when I deploy, I can see high elevated rate, right? But maybe I didn't configure an alert on this high elevated rate. So maybe there are traditional algorithms for detecting anomaly in this error rate, and they will notify me there is elevated error rate after your deployment in a different service. I deployed service A, and service B got the elevated error rate because everything is interconnected and everybody works in microservices. So imagine in this case that the AI agent can be triggered. It becomes more proactive. It's not 100% proactive, but I believe that those signals are very strong signals to trigger the agent to look at it, because the data is so enormous. It can read everything all the time, everywhere. But if we trigger those strong signals, then it can do it. This is one thing that I wanted to double click on. Another thing, the opportunities here are endless in the sense that it's a spectrum. You can make it a data analyst. You can ask it data analyst questions, like I said, how many failed logins, or maybe you can take it to a higher level, and it depends how good the agent understands your environment. For example, I can ask it like stuff that are custom to my organization. Tell me, is my ingestion pipeline is up, right? So if I tell you guys what is ingestion pipeline, every organization has a different ingestion pipeline. So failed logins is an easy question because it's like common and easy quantifiable answer. But the other thing is harder, and it depends on how good the agent understands your environment. At the far end, at least in our vision, like Asaf said, is the MTTR reduction. People are paying millions of dollars, $100,000 to observability companies because observability is hard, and they want to make it easier, and because they need their system up and running, and every minute counts. As Manaj said, with user dissatisfaction when systems are down, right? So those organizations really need observability to be fast. And as stuff get more and more complicated, it's harder. So the holy grail is really the root cause analysis, the root cause, reducing the MTTR, that is. And reducing the MTTR is like finding the root cause and addressing it as fast as possible. And even here, there is also a spectrum. There is the detection time and there is the resolution time. But agents work at machine speeds. So if you connect those two, then I think the magic happens. And just to touch about the risks. So as everything, nothing comes only benefits. There are always risks. So in this case, agent can be a red herring, like direct you to an not correct way and will waste your time. So in this sense, the agent must be also very grounded, right? AI must be grounded, so it won't hallucinate stuff. It must show you there is a problem with the service. Look, this is the metric. Look, this is the log. This is the concrete log from your system. So these are the risks. We need to make sure that AI is not just like convincing us to go to not correct solution, because it can be very, very convincing. It's tuned to be chattable and helpful. We need to make sure it helps in the right way. But the opportunities are amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks, Shebach. Over to you, Andrew. Curious, how do AI-driven observability tools change the skill sets or the roles needed in ops teams? There's a lot of changes happening across all industries now, but specifically in observability. For example, do SREs now need data science skills to tune and train AI, or can they treat these kind of tools as black boxes and focus on implementing results? You're on mute, Andrew.
Okay.
I
think you muted me. So I think if you looked at this space 18 months ago, there was a very, very small number of companies who were kind of focusing on this. And I mean, certainly if you were a big organization, you might, like a big bank or, a hyperscaler, you probably go and look at, building your own solution. But if you look where we are today, there's been so much innovation happening in the space. There are now dozens of companies focusing on this. So you certainly shouldn't be going out and trying to build AI yourself and train models. I just don't think it's a place that people should really be exploring. And but I do think that there is a critical role observability to actually be a data, for data product managers, because I think if you look at other areas where AI is applied, people are appointing product managers who have responsibility for looking at data sets. I really think that is a key area that observability teams should be focusing on, analyzing their data, looking at the scope of the data that they have, and using different strategies to try and fill the gaps there, particularly as it relates to distributed tracing. And I think one of the big innovations there that people need to try and exploit more and more is the use of eBPF as a mechanism to instrument distributed tracing, because it reduces a very big barrier. Because if you've got to get different operations teams going out developers going out and instrumenting their code, they also have product managers that need to approve these things. Operational capability generally falls foul of functionality, so it can take a very long time. So I think things like eBPF are very important because they take away that overhead. You can really move a lot quicker with what's coming there. Did that answer your question, Dean?
It does. Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. Asaf, we speak to a lot of customers and prospects curious about Logs.io's AI and our automatic root cause analysis, etc. From a security and privacy perspective, obviously this is crucial in observability data, which obviously includes sensitive data and logs. You've got banking and healthcare and these kinds of industries where it's very sensitive. Does leveraging AI, especially cloud-based or third-party AI services, introduce any new security or compliance concerns? And how are we addressing this at Logs.io?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it definitely has the potential of introducing security and compliance risk. I think we at Logs.io, obviously, we take it very seriously and have been for the past 10 years. We treat the customer's data. We're using the AWS service called Bedrock, which kind of like mitigates all the concerns and have the responsibility of AWS making sure that the data is not going to go out, is not going to be used to train, is not going to be used anywhere. So I think this is a big thing that we're doing here, but it's definitely a concern. We're starting to see more and more compliance officers that that are today required to understand what is the organization's use of Gen AI throughout the organization. It kind of like proliferates all the departments, not only development and observability and operations. It's also in marketing and its product and its sales, and everything we do is there is always a concern, but we take all the measures to address these concerns.
Thanks, Asaf. I do want to leave about 10 minutes. We did get some questions from the audience. So I think one question for the group, I guess, before we move on to the audience questions. If you can give advice, I guess we'll go around each panelist, but where should companies start or not start when implementing AI and observability? Let's think about companies that are using a traditional stack, even if it's an open source stack, or they're using a proprietary vendor like Datadog, New Relic, Logs.io with no AI. There's no baseline. I'd like to hear from you guys. Where should companies start and what should they consider before we move on to the audience? Maybe we'll start with you, Shevach.
Yeah, so actually it's funny because we started, this is just what we did. We started with the highest hanging fruit, and we saw it's really hard to do it. So AI is not it's not like a magic wand that can solve all your problems. So I would recommend starting with low hanging fruits. Start with mundane things, maybe something that Manaj said with alert fatigue. Maybe you can analyze the alert, let the AI tell you what alerts are actionable, what alerts are not actionable. Try to implement it as part of your routine, of your observability routine, and try to automate the mundane and time-consuming things. Start small, really. Don't achieve to the stars, don't reach for the stars. Start small, and as you progress, you will probably get some sense of feeling and a touch of how to use it better, and you will get better understanding what can be achieved.
It's a good suggestion. What about you, Manoj? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, what she was told, right? I will just go even a couple of steps back from there. It all depends, right, where the company is currently standing. I mean, when your monitoring itself is not complete, your data itself is not standardized. Getting onto any of those stuff which AI can do may not give you that result, right? So I will surely first start with a couple of things which even Andrew touched upon. Data completeness. Is my data gaps are still there? Is it complete, or is it enough for an AI to generate something really useful for me? And if that is their second thing, which I will surely love to say, which I think not directly related to observability, but is my team have the skills to actually adopt AI? I'll just go them and say, okay, from today onwards, you will get something which AI has done, and you may get some kind of an RC added, but does that make sense to them? I mean, does they know how AI actually works? If AI telling me something like, okay, your CPU is higher, or its impact has on response time or on the user end, right? Does they really understand how AI is doing it? Till unless you don't have those kind of understanding how AI is doing, you may not be able to use it effectively too. So I will surely look at data first. My data is complete, standard, enough for AI to take care? Does my team has skills who understand AI jargons to create it? And of course, if these things are in there, then maybe I will jump onto what she was told, right? Alert fatigue, anomaly detection. Maybe if my first use case where you just look at only few of those matrices, important matrices, and try to figure it out the pattern. And if something goes away from the baseline, maybe top on to that little bit of correlation, add that how my logs are correlated with metrics, how my logs are correlated with traces. Does any change in the trace workflow result into log changes or not? Something which log is not telling me, can a relevant trace can tell me some additional context out of it? Maybe that kind of a thing, and then jump on to the next step. But that's where I will start first.
Here I'm mute.
Over to yourself. I think we've seen companies go from zero to saving thousands of hours, thousands of dollars, and improving the developer happiness. So where would you recommend companies start in terms of adopting AI?
I would definitely recommend starting with improving developer happiness and adopting tools that have been existing for years now, like GitHub Copilot and other tools to help the developers be more efficient. I think it's definitely something which is, if you use it right, it can save a lot of money. And it can also build confidence within the organization that AI can be trusted and that it has a very good result. So I think it's very important. I think the other thing which organization need to deal with is the non-predictability of the AI, meaning that you can ask the same question twice and you get a different answer. It's okay. That's how it works, because it doesn't copy from somewhere. It like generates the response. We as developers, we like to have things very predictable. This is our life. We know that you write something and it works the same way every time you run it. So it takes getting used to. But I think all of us are using ChatGPT or Claude from Anthropic or other AIs in our life today, and we understand the iterative part of it and the fact that you have to constantly ask it to explain or to go further or to have a different answer. It's okay. That's the way it works, and you have to commit to using it this way if you want to leverage as technology. So I would definitely recommend starting with developer happiness and adopting tools like Copilot and alike.
Cool. And Andrew, you were, I believe, at KubeCon in London, KubeCon Europe. That was in London. What are your thoughts? There are a lot of tools there, all talking about AI. If you were to, build your own team and organization now, where would you suggest companies start adopting AI in their observability?
So I mean, I agree with a lot of what was said here about co-pilots and going after lower level use cases. But in parallel to that, I also think that you really need to be thinking about carrying out a readiness assessment to look at your data and also look at where you can get the biggest bang for your buck. I mean, these are. It's not a tooling related question. It's really looking at your operation, your data, establishing a plan, because I don't think that just taking a tools approach on its own is going to give you the answers that you need. It's very, very situational depending on where you are today. And how mature your observability stack is. I actually wrote about this in the second edition of the Observability 2025 articles that I wrote, and there's actually quite a list of questions in there that I kind of pose that people should be thinking about. So I'd kind of defer to that as a guide because it's fairly detailed. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I think I'm looking at some of the questions from the audience. Sorry, Andrew, I think you cut off. I'm going to move on if that's okay. Looking at some of the questions from the audience, I think a lot of what's on a lot of SREs, DevOps, and engineering on their mind is AI going to replace our role? Obviously not now or anytime in the near future, but I saw a post from the CEO of Fiverr on LinkedIn, basically warning all of his employees or giving them a heads up that AI is after all of our jobs, and now's the time to start thinking about the future. So a question from Deepak Gupta, who's an observability architect and SRE expert. Maybe Asaf, we can start with you on this one. As AI becomes more capable in driving autonomous observability, what does the future hold for human SREs? And will AI replace their roles, or will it become more of a trusted powered partner to empower them with more high impact work?
I think it's a very good question. I think there's been in history very few technology improvements that have actually replaced people's jobs. I mean, there have been, but it's not that common. I haven't run into any organization that says I have enough people in my engineering environment to do whatever I want to do. So I think organization becoming more efficient is going to enable them to do more with what they have and not say, hey, now I can do the same thing that I did, so I'm going to have fewer people. I also think that AI it's not like Shevach mentioned, it's not magic. You can't say, build me an observability solution and it's going to build you an observability solution. At least not today, and probably not for a long time. So someone needs to architect it. Someone needs to understand the pieces. Someone needs to understand how things are connected. Someone needs to look at the code because it can invent things that don't happen and don't exist. So I think, is it going to change the role of an engineer? It's probably going to change the role of an engineer. Is it going to eliminate? My gut feeling, and it's not going to eliminate, but it's going to make it, I think it's going to be easier. It's going to be simpler. I think what we're seeing today with the alert fatigue is hopefully going to go away or significantly being reduced, which is that it's a nightmare for DevOps engineers, SREs to wake up in the middle of the night. So I think it's going to get everybody's life to be better, and engineers are going to be more efficient, happier, and be able to write more code, and companies will be able to move faster forward. That's kind of like my guess.
Nice. All right, guys, we've got a couple, let's call it 1 or 2 minutes left. Everyone came to find out the question. There's been a lot of insightful answers here, but let's do a bit of a lightning round, maybe 10, 20 seconds each. Is AI killing traditional observability? Start with you, Manoj.
I will not say, I'll say no. It's surely augmenting. It's surely removing those pieces which we generally never liked in the past. I never liked alert fatigue, so it will remove that. I never liked searching things manually. It will remove that. But basic principle of those foundation of that monitoring or observability remains same. We are still trying to build something which is reliable. We're still trying to build something which signals us if something goes wrong. The basic foundation still remains same. That SLOs, SLAs, all those things continue to remain same. So I will say this may be a very nice to have happy friend along with us who can help us do our job faster and maybe more efficient, but it's not going to kill for sure.
At least for the next probably 1 to 2 years. What about you, Shevach?
Hopefully.
Thoughts?
I totally agree with Manash. I don't think it's going to kill. I think AI is riding on a great fundamental tools that we have created during the last years. I think it's accelerating. I think that it can make developers happier. Just anecdotally, when my teammate back in my previous role, when I was woken up on a pager duty call at 2 a.m. and then I was starting reading the alert details, and my colleague did a really great job, and I do the same. I write a detailed alert and I point the developer to the right dashboard with about 50 panels that they need to look at because the system is really complex. And then, at 2 a.m., you're so tired, you're trying to understand because it's not your development, it's your colleague's product. So you are reading what they wrote, and then you try to scale, restart, revert, do whatever you need. Imagine that AI can read the same dashboard that you are reading, read the same instruction that your colleague read, but do it at machine speed without the 2 a.m. fatigue, and just tell you, look, I noticed that panel and that panel started elevating before the main panel with the alert triggered. So maybe this is that and that. Look, it's written here and there. So this can really make life of SREs, DevOps engineers far better. It will not kill observability. It will just augment it and accelerate stuff.
Awesome. Andrew, final thoughts?
So I think I agree with everything. Like traditional observability is an important foundation. If you look at what's happening there, there's a massive shift taking place, I think, towards open telemetry in the industry, because I think that is a big enabler for AI, because it provides a standardized data model. We have this thing called context propagation that enables us to actually look at end-to-end services. A lot of the traditional products, when you actually do an X-ray on them, they don't provide that comprehensive end-to-end picture, which I think is essential for AI. So I do think we will see some shifts in the foundation of observability. I think that what we will also see is consolidation. So we'll see people who are traditionally providing platforms, merging with AI vendors. A lot of the AI vendors today are really providing value-added capabilities on top of observability platforms. And I think that consolidation will happen quite quickly, given the number of players that are emerging in this space. Over the next 18 months, 2 years.
Perfect. Agreed. And keen to keep reading about your thoughts in the space as well, Andrew. So if anyone hasn't checked out Andrew's newsletters, add him on LinkedIn and you'll get some good insights there. Finally, but not least, Asaf, final thoughts. Is AI killing traditional observability?
I want to take a different approach and say that AI is going to be killing traditional observability. Maybe not today, maybe not in a year, but in the future it is. I think observability in the future is not going to have dashboards and not going to have visualization. It's going to have a prompt that you can ask a question, and a lot of it is going to be triggered from within. And I know it's hard to imagine it, but I think before iPhone came out, nobody imagined the phone without a keyboard, but here we are today. So I think this is a paradigm change. It's not going to be a feature. It's going to be a feature for a while, but eventually it is going to be a paradigm shift. And that's my hope as well, also as an entrepreneur in the space. So,
cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys, really appreciate your time. Thanks to the panel, Andrew, Manoj, Shevach, Asaf. It was great having you. It was an awesome discussion. We'll share the recording on LinkedIn afterwards. But yeah, thanks again, everyone, and I hope it was enjoyable.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.